everyone, welcome to my channel if you're new and welcome back if you're returning. So today I was searching on the internet and I had a video that was suggested to me from a man called Mediocre Tutorials and Reviews. Now let me say this, I found him, I don't know, this was like months ago. I think it was in 2020, might have been 2019, but yeah, I don't know, maybe 2020. And he was doing a reaction video to the Napa-headed jojoba, and see, I love her. So in the video, he kept saying jojoba, and I thought it was cute because, you know, he's a guy. He doesn't do hair. What does he know about oils? So I put it down in the comment section. I was like, hey, so it's pronounced jojoba. And his response was really welcoming. He was like, oh, thanks, you know, thank you for breaking it down phonetically for me. And I'm like, yeah, of course. So I watched his video and I liked his perspective. I did feel like some people in the comments were a little bit, you know, lower frequency. I don't know, but the way he looked at things, I was like, he's cool. I subscribed to his channel. I think he had like 5,000 subscribers. I don't know, he was really small. So actually today I was suggested a video of his, and I think it was because of this whole Will Smith, Jada Pinkett entanglement situations. You know, shout out to my old entanglement. But I was suggested his video. I didn't click on that one, and another one came up. And the title was, Being a Single Mother is Not Hard. It proved me wrong. So I was like, wait a minute. Okay, that's a little controversial. You know, I'm here for the controversy. Let's see, because I do like his perspective. Well, I did on that one video I caught way back when. So I was like, this will be interesting. And I'll just say this, trigger warning for anyone who's a stay-at-home mom or who gets easily offended by opinions, because he is extremely opinionated. But what I really like about this man is that he is able to state what he feels and not just feel that way and just say, this is how I feel and it is what it is. But no, he like gives reasons of why he feels that way. So I really like that. And he seems to be like, even though he is teachable, he's also seems to be learned. So I love that. So let's just get into this video. I only watched about 8 minutes and then I cut it because I was like, okay, this is too good. We are going to react to this together. And y'all just, I don't know. We'll see how this goes. All right, so let's do this.
Pardon the masculinity. What up, YouTube? I am your host, Mediocre Tutorials and Reviews. Back in here with yet one more video, joined today by a very special guest, China.
What's up?
How are you? Get in the camera, girl. Why you over there in the corner?
Well,
we were ending off the last video talking about the benefits of marriage. Wait, hold on. So let's just stay at financial real quick and then let's go on to some other additional benefits. So, should I not consider a woman who doesn't work?
I think it depends on the type of man you are. If you're the type of man that feel like I don't mind dealing with a woman who doesn't work, who's going to be at home caring for the kids, because technically that's working. But if you want to deal with that type of person, then that's cool. But if you're a man that's like, we both have to bring income in, then you have to find a woman who's cool with that. Technically,
yeah, you're right. It is working, but it's more like on the scale of, in my opinion, like McDonald's worker, right? Like it's
that is so disrespectful.
Is it though? Because I feel like it's not like difficult.
You don't think it's difficult raising children?
So he just equated a stay-at-home mom to a McDonald's worker. All right, first of all, he said the first question he asked was, should he not seek someone who is like not working in you know, to marry? I feel like this. If you're a man who has no problem with paying alimony once this thing is dissolved, if it ends, then I think that it doesn't matter what the woman does. If you're somebody who, you know, if you're still out there of the streets, if you're not really ready to commit, if you're somebody who's on the fence and you still want to be, a single married person, then you probably should go for somebody who has income, because she's going to leave you. But if you're going into this and it's really about the person that you meet and not just the idea of being married or the idea of calling yourself married but not really being in the relationship, then I don't think that, you know, it shouldn't really matter what the person does. But like I said, if you know that you have things in you that are unresolved and you're not really focused at like going in this thing like 100% and doing right by the person, yeah, you might want to marry somebody who has their own, because they're going to leave you and they're going to take your stuff. Simple as that. But Okay, we're talking about this, so we're gonna stay on task. Let's keep rolling.
No. I think it's difficult unless you have your entire day to do it. Like I don't feel like it's so like single mothers. To be a single mother and working, that's got to be one of the hardest jobs combined together. Like that's incredibly hard, and I salute single mothers that have to do it because they have no other options, right? Irrespective of how the situation occurred, right? But for stay-at-home mothers, that like your job is just to stay at home and to raise the children, right? Like I don't think any job, shout out to Bill Burr, is difficult that's performed in pajamas.
It's not that what he's saying is wrong. It's just the fact that he's the one saying it. I think is probably going to be the issue that most people have. So he said he doesn't feel that any job that's performed in pajamas could be difficult. Unpopular opinion, I kind of feel like he has a good point. But before I give my full opinion, we're going to keep rolling because this thing gets spicy, y'all. So let's keep rolling.
So how would you feel, honestly, if you were confined to this house for hours at a time a day? You could not go outside and you had to care for a kid.
No, I agree. That's actually the hardest part. The hardest part is the discipline.
So now we're getting down to some stuff. So what she said is, do you really think it's like that simple that, being confined in the house, stuck with the child, you can't do this, you can't do that? First of all, you didn't just pop up pregnant. You chose to get pregnant. Pregnancy isn't a surprise for the most part. On average, pregnancy is not a surprise. You know what to do to get pregnant. You know what to do not to get pregnant. You made a decision to have a child. So the fact that you're stuck in the house, you're not stuck anywhere. You're doing your job as a mother. So I can't take that as an argument, because to me, that's a bit selfish that you would, that a parent, not her, but that a parent would say, I'm having trouble because I'm stuck in the house with the baby all day. So why did you have this child? What did you think you were going to give birth to a 17-year-old to where you can come and go as you please? No, you signed up for this. This is what you signed up for. So don't get into the position now and then start hooping and hollering about what you can't do. And the fact of the matter is, I've never seen a mother that had a baby who was stuck in the house. They have strollers for that. They have car seats for that. All you got to do is load that baby up and go do what you have to do. So a baby is not a hindrance unless you want that child to be a hindrance, So yeah, I don't know. He's kind of starting to make sense. I need my women in there to pick it up just a little bit, but okay, let's keep rolling. And before we get back to this thing, he made it very clear that he was not talking about single mothers. He's talking about stay-at-home mothers. Those are two completely different worlds to me. So I actually had a little bit of a conversation with some women, and this was about the whole stay-at-home versus single mother type deal. And it came about because one of the mothers is a military wife, and she made the comparison of her being a military wife to her like being a single mother. And I took offense to that. I took offense and I told her she was crazy, because there's no way you as a military wife could ever compare yourself to a single mother, because we are not the same. But comment down below if you get, if you understand the difference between the two, being a stay-at-home mom and being a single mother, or being a military mom and being a single mother. There are differences, and I don't think that it's fair to blur the lines, because that in a sense is a bit of insensitivity to what it really takes to be a single parent. And for the record, I'm going to say this. They're going to get into it, but he is a product of a single parent household. His father raised him. So let's just continue and see what they have to say. But I just wanted to throw that out there. To me, there's a difference. There's a big difference. And I'm glad that he did say, I'm not saying it's easy to be a single parent. What I'm saying is it's easy to be a stay-at-home mom. And the two are not synonymous. So let's keep rolling.
The discipline. That's the hardest part, is just sitting there and not being active. Now, the beautiful thing about being that job today is the internet, because you can still do it and then have a business right out of your house, right? Like I record YouTube videos and I have a full-time active leave the house type of job, right? But you can do that at home if you're that ambitious, if you're a stay-at-home mother. But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the job of just raising children, if you have one or two, Like, it's not, to me, it's not.
So what you have to understand is it's a lot that comes with raising. They don't just go to sleep when you want them to go to sleep.
Yeah.
They don't cook for themselves. They don't clean for themselves. And then just think if you're dealing with postpartum. Just think if you're dealing with at home, like you don't like confined spaces. You're the type that like to be outdoors. What if you did have a job before? Now you're dealing with the fact that you can't be employed right now because you have to take care of a kid. Like, it's a lot that comes with being a stay-at-home mother. It's more than just, well, you're in your pajamas. You're in your pajamas because you didn't have time to change because you have to supervise a kid.
No, I get it, but
breastfeed in between times because you deal with pains that, you know what I'm saying?
Pains.
So I believe that the insensitivity on his part is it's not on purpose. It's just a lack of experience because he doesn't have children. He probably hasn't been through that, so he doesn't understand. Like the fact that he even said pains. Yes, pains. Let me tell you something. A woman's body is not healed after carrying a child for that amount of time and then giving birth. They don't just come home and everything just goes back to normal. I mean, sometimes that's the case, but what about the women who have C-sections? No, like it may take 18 months to heal. I know more than one woman who has had a C-section and a year later, her body, she's still getting little twinges and, you know, little nerve issues here and there. And yes, pain, like especially when your uterus is trying to go back down to size after having a C-section, it is not easy. You know, you could be 6 months in and be walking and one of your ligaments or your muscles decides to do something out of the ordinary and it can, you know, it can debilitate you because it's not as simple as I carried this child, I gave birth to this child, now I'm here, now we're back to normal. No, like there are pains involved and she's right. You know, it's not as simple, it's not as cut and dry as just I had the child and this is that. But I do want to say in his favor, I'm not really siding with what she's saying. Like, oh, if you have to adjust to this life and now you have postpartum and you did this and you did that. You chose to have that child. No one made you have that baby. You chose to get pregnant. You chose to have a child. So what it really comes down to, what I hear her saying, what I hear him saying, it really comes down to a matter of selflessness. Are you selfish after you have this child? Because you can be selfish before you decide to become a parent. Just like you can be selfish going into a marriage. You're only making it harder for yourself. So if you are an individual who is selfish and you struggle so hard with transitioning into motherhood, there should not be multiples. You probably need to stop having children because being a mother is nothing but selflessness. And you know, she's saying, oh, maybe she's in pajamas because she didn't have time to take it. You have time to do your hair, you have time to take a shower, you have time to do whatever you want to make time for. It's called time management. You are home with that child all day. If you want to get things done, things will get done. If you want to sit around and not have a schedule and just think that this is going to be a walk in the park, you are in for a rude awakening trying to become a mother. And that's just what it really comes down to. So yeah, we'll keep rolling and see what they have to say, but I have plenty more to say about this. So yeah,
pains that, you know what I'm saying?
Pains.
Yeah.
So it is also a very part-time job. I mean, to what age does first grade start or kindergarten start? It's like 3 years, 4 years old?
You go to preschool at about 4.
Okay, so it's a 4-year job. So it's a super part-time job. Right, like, and then the kid is in school for a large amount of hours per day.
And at that time, most moms go back to work. But when children are not old enough to go, and then you have to think about, do you want to send your kids to preschool at this day and age when you hear about daycares that are abusing kids and sexual assault that's going on inside of daycares?
Right, but you already conceded a bit ago that one of the most difficult components is actually doing it, right? Like it's not the difficulty of raising, right? Like the activities that you do while you're home. It's actually the difficulty of your mind being numb. That's the difficulty. So when I said before, my original statement was it's not hard. I think that it's not hard still because it's not like something that is genuinely, like, hard to me is running a marathon. Like, hard to me is getting into a job first day and you have to give a presentation the next day, and like all the things that you have to do in order to do that extremely well is difficult, right? Like, what's not hard to me is a job that is just, as long as you're awake and you're doing like basic things, like everything will be okay. As long as you don't allow your child to not be hungry and die, you're doing a pretty good job.
I think that you're minimizing a lot of what mothers do.
No.
Because this is, well, not what mothers do, but stay-at-home moms, it's not a just stay woke situation.
Did y'all see that face when he took a sip? This lets me know that when we get back to this thing, he has some things to say. I will say 100% she is correct. You are minimizing, and although I do agree with what he's saying, I don't agree with the reason why he's saying it, and I think that that would work to his detriment if he doesn't get an understanding of it. Still have the same view, but think about it from a different light. Because like he said, it's so simple. You know, you just stay home and this and that, and what's hard is training for a marathon. No. Let me explain something to you. It is extremely hard to take care of a baby. But my point is, regardless of how hard it is, this is what you signed up for, so you take it on the chin. Simple as that. It shouldn't be that. It's not that difficult. It's hard, but it's not how people make it seem. So the whole idea of you have a baby, you just got to make sure that you feed them and they don't die. No. Babies have personalities. Babies have different temperaments. Babies do not communicate other than through crying. You have to learn your child's cry. You have to learn what each one means. That baby could be in pain. If you're hot and you decide to turn on the AC, your baby may be getting sick. You may have, really harmed your baby because they're not hot. If you're freezing and you turn on the heat, you may have messed with, you can't overheat a baby because that could cause brain damage. You may have affected your child in a way because you were freezing but nobody else is. Everything you do is thinking about this child. Every sound the child makes, you have to know how to interpret it. This does not come of second nature to some people, So I think the whole idea that it's just so easy to take care of a baby, every baby has a different temperament and every parent has a different temperament. There are some parents who the baby could be crying. You know how sometimes you hear a fire, the smoke detector in certain people's videos, you hear it in the back and it's just going off and it's driving you crazy. But they'll sit there and have a whole hour-long video with you, conversation. That sound, they've drowned it out because it doesn't matter. Some parents have the ability to do that to the baby's cry, to where babies can cry, they realize the baby's crying, but it doesn't cause them mental anguish. They don't get flustered. They don't start losing control. It's just, it is what it is. Other people, every sound that baby makes, it heightens their anxiety. In a sense, it can drive you crazy. That's why, not saying it's justified, but this is why sometimes people wind up hurting babies. And it's like, I snapped. I don't know what happened. I lost it. And it's a real thing. It's not just, oh, they were crazy, that's why that happened. No, it takes a certain mind to deal with a baby, and not everybody has that mind. Just because you're able to open up your legs and push a child out does not mean that you are mentally prepared to take care of that baby. And just because someone walks down the aisle and calls herself your wife does not mean that she's the best person to care for that baby. Some mothers need to go to work to protect your child, because if she stays home with that baby, it's not going to be good for either of them. Babies pick up on energy. And if the baby is frustrating and the mother gets flustered, sometimes the baby just doesn't want to be around you because you got a bad attitude. And a complete stranger can come in the house, have a great attitude, be in good spirits, see the baby, hey, what's wrong? Pick the baby up, all of a sudden the baby stops crying. You know why? Because the baby was in a hostile kind of, situation, environment, and they fed off of your frustration. So he's frustrated with you just as much as you're frustrated with him. So all he can do is cry, and all you can probably do is cry too. So it's just too much going on. It takes for someone else to come in. And that's not the case with everyone, but I will say, no. It's not a walk in the park staying home. But me personally, I don't feel like it's that hard of a job. And I think sometimes these stay-at-home mothers want to feel like they're contributing more than what they really are, because at the end of the day, you had a child. You don't get credit for staying home, taking care of your child. You didn't have to have them. So let's keep rolling.
How I know it's not that difficult is because how many kids are in a daycare?
Well, if it's a good daycare, it's supposed to be 12 kids per adult?
That's how I know
depending on the age.
Right. So 12 kids, 13, 14, 15, I've heard of, right? That's how I know it's not that incredibly. But if you could do 15, 16, 17 kids at a time.
You're talking about trained people that have them on a specific schedule, that have assistants that come in the room, that have breaks. You're talking about a person who doesn't get a break, who doesn't have an assistant, and who's doing this all day. Like they may not even, if this is your first kid, you don't know all the time that kids should have a schedule for them to be able to do things and you be able to live a life while you're doing it.
You know what? See, he needs to have had this conversation with someone like me. She's doing a good job, but she's not doing good enough. She should have ate him up right there. He's wrong. He said he knows it's not hard to do because at the daycare, the last number he ended with was what, 16, 17 kids per room. So it makes it seem that, and what I'm saying this because his logic makes sense, but he's wrong. Let me tell you why he's wrong. In the infant room, right? We're talking about the baby room. There's no way there's 17 infants to one caretaker. I want to say what, 2, 3 infants in the room, and then you need an assistant. You are not allowed to have that many in the room without an assistant. You have to have an assistant. They're not going to have 5 infants in the room with 1 adult. And you know why? Because it's extremely hard to take care of them. It's crazy. I think he doesn't understand, and he's a bit tone deaf because he's never been in that situation. So by looking at the common sense things that he's saying, it makes sense, but he's just wrong. When you're dealing with the infant room, it is not 16, 12, 17. No. 2 to 3 infants at a time. And the difference is when you're home, when they go to daycare, they go with their bottles made. They go with their bags. They go with their diapers in the bag. They have a specific spot for their stuff. So, that's right there. When you're home, those things aren't prepared ahead of time. You don't have someone in the kitchen that can make bottles and do this and that for the babies. If you have one baby crying and then you have another one that's sleeping and that baby starts to cry, it's going to trigger the other baby. Now this one is awake, and some babies do not like to be awake and they get nasty, like really nasty. So now you have 2 babies that are up. Now this one wants to go to sleep. Now he can't go to sleep because he woke up the other one. It's not as simple as you think it is. Like he's talking from a common sense I've never been there, but I heard or read about it type of position, but you have to be in it to understand it's way more than what you think. And now let's get into the older kids. When they do start to get about what, a year old to 18 months, there's no way there's 17 babies in the room. That's not true. Maybe, I guess depending on the state, but I know, what is it, like six, and then they need an assistant. And then maybe you can have 2 or 3 more, but they're older. Something like, the numbers are real low. They're not what you think they are, because there's no way you can have that many toddlers in the room at one time. Now, what she was saying is, those people, they're skilled in that. They're skilled workers. I don't even think that's the case, because it doesn't take much to become a daycare attendant. Maybe the person who owns the building or the person who's running it, yes. But for the average person, no, it's not that serious. But you do have to have bodies there. So if you're a mother and you have more than 1 child and you have to go to the bathroom, you can't take both of them to the bathroom with you every single time. And even if you could, they're not going to cooperate. It's not as simple as this child is going to do what I tell them to do. Once you start talking about 5 and up, now you have a little bit more flexibility, and you can have more than 2 and 3 or 5 kids at a time. You can do those things because they're older. They understand. They've been through the baby phase. But we're talking about a stay-at-home mom from birth to what, 3, 4 years old? There's no way. No, you will never go to a daycare and see 17 babies in the infant or toddler room at one time with 1 attendant. Not possible.
Google it.
Everybody is not Google savvy. Do you know how many adults don't know how to use their smartphones?
I have nothing for you then. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't know how to do what's basic within today, there's classes that you can take. You should be able to, so here, listen. I understand what you're saying. Okay, all right. But I'm being facetious. Okay. But I'm challenging it, because I will still challenge that a man that's working 50, 60, 70 hours per week, and a woman who is at home tending to 1 or 2 babies, that level of difficulty is at a different layer. Just like the level of difficulty of a cashier at a fast food restaurant is different than the level of difficulty at a Fortune whatever company, or the level of difficulty of a business owner.
Oh my gosh, he's insane. He said Google it. Okay, I'm sorry, he's right. Google it. That's not an excuse. The fact that you don't know how to put your child on a schedule and, you know, you're struggling and you're running around making things harder than what they need to be, that's on you. You chose to have them. Simple as that. But we go back to what he said. I agree with him. It is much easier to stay at home and to take care of some children and figure that out than it is to get up every day and leave your children. Now, my argument is this. He's saying the father goes to work. That's harder than the mother staying home. No, I don't look at it like that. I look at it like the parent going to work would have more anxiety and more concern about their child being home. So I would want to be home with my baby, and I'm taking this out of men and women, and I'm just saying in general, I want to be home with my baby. If I have to leave to go to work, I'm way more stressed out at work than what I would be at home with my child. I'd rather be at home with my child and try to figure it out. Now, if my husband is at work and I'm home, I think I have it much easier than him, because it's just, what is there really to do other than make sure that the baby is okay? If I'm struggling that much, then I need to stop having kids. I'm probably not having kids for the right reason. I'm probably just doing it because I'm in this marriage and that's what we said we were going to do in a marriage, or he wants kids. Or if you really want kids, I don't see how it's that hard. It's a job. It's a job just like anything else. So the fact that he minimizes it like, oh, it's so simple. No, it's not simple, but it'll just like any other job, you dedicate yourself to the things that you want to do. So if you want to be a parent and be the best one. Now, him comparing it to being a cashier to a boss, you know, like, oh, cashiers have it so much simpler than bosses. No, staying at home is not, you know, synonymous with being a cashier compared to a husband leaving the house to work, being compared to a boss. I don't agree with that, but let's keep rolling.
You said you had a dope dad that raised you.
Yes.
So was he a single parent?
Yes.
How do you think he felt about raising you by himself? Do you think that was an easy task?
No, I don't think it was easy, but I think he did the best that he could, and he never gave the fuck up. And there's too many people that look like us that are black men that give up.
I agree with that, but I also feel like he is one of those people that was a single parent who came home, who took care of you. Mm-hmm. So you can't be like, you know, oh, well, you know, that job isn't that tough, because you came out pretty well. So for you to come out pretty well, he had to work pretty darn hard.
I don't disagree with you at all. But I do think I never said anything about single parents. I didn't say anything about single parents.
You're saying about stay at home.
Stay at home. That's completely, my dad was not a stay at home. You know what I'm saying? So like, I agree. Being a parent and working full time, that motherfucker right there, that is, your days are shot. And I'm trying to be as understanding as what I possibly can. I'm trying to be an understander. I'm trying to, I promise you. I just don't believe it's as hard as what people purport it is. And I would argue for the ones that purport it is so immensely hard, either A, their child is disadvantaged, right? Like maybe has a learning disability, or something like that. But if it's not a disadvantage, if they have all the time in the day, like, and they have time to dedicate on that. Like, so here's what it is. The ones that don't know how to do it, right, well, and they have the resources to be able to do it, and I think that's another thing, like, we have to come to common agreements. If they have the resources to be able to do it, they have the resources, then my thing is that they're not dedicating themselves enough to learning how to do it. And instead, they're opting for the soap operas. And instead, they're opting for the Steve Wilkos show, right?
I think that is such, I think that is so, like, that's not cool.
Talk to me.
See, that's the part that I disagree with him on, but I can't fully disagree with him because he kind of has a point. Like, I don't like the fact that he's making it seem like if you're a stay-at-home mom, you're just lazy. You're just going to watch Steve Wilkos all day and Jerry Springer and whatever. I don't know. I don't watch TV, so I don't even know if that still comes on. Am I telling my age? But I don't think that's fair to do that, because not every stay-at-home mother is just sitting at home wasting time. But The fact of the matter is there is time to be wasted. So once again, I have to go with him, and she didn't even know what to say. She just said, look, that's not cool. Like, he's making it seem like it's just a walk in the park to be a mom. Like, you can have a child, but that doesn't make you an effective mother. So, okay.
I'm always going to offer a counterpoint as long as this conversation goes off, because I want to challenge you.
Obviously.
If you were to put a dollar amount on a young, right, like a stay-at-home mother,
Okay.
how much money should they make a year if that was a job? No, for real.
How much I would say that person should make? That's a hard question. I guess it depends on how many kids they have.
I love the fact that he said earlier, he is being a bit facetious, and I get that, because when you have a conversation, if you're just one-sided, then, I mean, what is there to gain from this? Like, why are we even talking? I love that he plays that dynamic, and like he said, I'm gonna challenge you. I am, because this is how I feel, so I'm gonna ask questions to get to see why you feel how you feel. But the question is, how much would I put? Listen, I want y'all to comment down below. How much would you say a stay-at-home mother should make? My number, I'm gonna say on a yearly basis. Yearly, I would say 8,000, 8 to 12,000. I think that's about right for a mother who decides to stay at home with her child. 8 to 12,000. So y'all comment down below what y'all think. Let me know if my number is completely insane, or if you think that's too much money. How much should a mother be paid if we were gonna turn this into numbers? How much do you think she should get paid to stay at home with her baby?
So if the dollar amount is $40,000, let's just say $40,000. Let's say college tuition. Let's say $40,000 a year for a young person to raise a child. Do you think that that's enough?
I think that's hard to say.
First of all,
Oh, you want to come in here? Wait, come in.
see, I love her because that's me. She's like, wait a minute, you're not gonna do my friend like that. Let me help out, because she needs help. Tag me in, girl. So she said, first of all, no, we're not about to do that. And I'm glad about the points that she's about to make. But he said 40,000. There's not a mother on the face of this earth that should get $40,000 a year for taking care of her own kids. Are you kidding me? No way. Now, if it's a nanny, that's different. If I had a nanny come into the house and she's helping me with my children, I would say maybe 20,000, 25,000. I could pay somebody yearly to do that. But a mother, nah, I don't really see anything over 10,000. She don't need it. For what? Nope, not gonna happen. But yeah, let's see what the homegirl has to say, because I think her friend, he's kind of throwing her off a little bit, and I think he said such crazy things that she's just like, at this point, she's like, I don't know what to do with him. So yes, let her friend come in and let's get down to this thing.
Come in.
First of all, I feel like
You gotta come down in here.
From birth to age 7, that's the prime years of who a person will be.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I know that I wouldn't be who I am today if my mom wasn't able to stay home the way she could. So if you putting a dollar amount on who I am today, millions.
So you think it's priceless?
Yeah.
What? It's priceless for your mother to do her job? No, you know, that's like a man saying, I went to work today, I deserve some credit. You don't get credit for doing what you're supposed to do as an adult. So no, I don't think it's priceless, because we're not paying your mother for who you could become. We're paying your mother to stay at home and give you what she believes that you deserve. You're her child, so at the end of the day, there's a vested interest there. You're not the neighbor's kid that she's watching and she deserves to be compensated for who you could become as an adult. No, you're a little her. She put into you herself. You don't get special credit for raising a great child. I mean, yeah, it takes work, and I think every parent should be patted on their back, but I mean, at the end of the day, did she not choose to have you? No, she don't get $1 million for who you became. Because that's like saying a mother who stays at home and puts everything into their child, that means you're not going to raise a bank robber. That's not true. It just doesn't work like that. Or because your mother's a full-blown crackhead, that all of a sudden that child, he couldn't be shit if you asked him to be. That's not true. He may grow up to be a rogue scholar. Like, there's no telling. Just because your parent is a certain way, or you know, a child comes from a certain household, that does not guarantee them a certain path in life. That's it. I mean, it really comes down to who that kid is and what they choose that they want to do with what was instilled in them. So no, your mother doesn't get $1 million for, I don't know, doing a good job. She gets a thanks, good job doing a good job, because it was your job to do anyway. That's it.
I think it's priceless, and I think that men do not birth children. They do not know what it takes to birth a child, to change your body, to go through the, like, that is something that's imaginable. Like, I just don't think that men could ever relate to that. They don't go through the pain that we go through. So on top of the pain, then we gotta watch an infant, and we have to train them, and it's like being a teacher and a cook and like, you know what I'm saying, and a maid,
janitor,
you know what I'm saying, and then when a man come home from work, we gotta fuck you. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I gotta be on cloud 9, like all my life, 24/7.
It's gotta be ready.
And I feel like
and doggy ready.
Men do not understand that.
This dog is licking me.
That dog was so cute. No, I don't agree. I mean, I like where she was coming from, but no, I don't agree, because she kept saying, then we have to do this, then we have to do. You don't have to do any of those things. Just don't have kids. Simple as that. Don't have kids and you don't have to do any of that. But once you choose to have kids, you don't get special credit because you did what you were supposed to do. I just can't. I can't do it. I can't do it.
I'm sorry. We don't get enough credit. You
Come
know what I'm
down in
saying?
here. They can't
And
see
that
you.
is a conversation. Men cannot.
Women don't get enough credit for what?
We don't give enough. Well, I
Like,
don't
give me
wanna
one
say-
point and then let me talk about it. Like, we don't get enough credit for what?
For giving birth.
for giving birth and like
Going back
taking
home.
care of the
Okay.
child.
Now we have a bump in the road, because the first girl, he said, y'all don't get enough credit for what? I'm gonna tell you. Number 2, she was right. I think women don't get enough credit. But the first one said, he said, for what? She said, we don't get enough credit for giving birth to the child and then going back to work. Okay? The second one said, we don't get enough credit for giving birth to the child and raising the child. I'm okay, y'all are arguing 2 different points, so y'all gonna have to pick one. But at the end of the day, the woman who goes back to work and raises the child, that would be the single parent. I think that's the one who really deserves the credit. But at the end of the day, does a single parent even deserve this, this over the top amount of credit for doing what you were supposed to do? No, not if that's what you signed up to do. But if you get put in a situation and that's what it comes down to, I think if there's credit to be due, it's credit to be due to anybody who's a parent. But I just, like, I don't know. We're going to go back to it again. And I'm going to stop saying it because this video is almost over. But I'm going to say it one more time. It's really not that serious. If you are a multiple family household, multiple parent, 2-parent household, and y'all are raising these kids, I don't really see what all the hooping and hollering and complaining is about. You're supposed to be there. If one person is working, the other person is supposed to do everything else. And your job doesn't stop. And if you think it's supposed to stop, then you need to stop having kids.
You know what I'm saying? Because there are
are you
women,
saying being a stay-at-home mother? So
yeah, I would say that. You don't get enough credit for being a stay-at-home.
but again, like, I'm trying to bring this to more quantitative, like
As a mother all day, and then you're working as a wife and a mother when your husband gets home,
And
or
then
your wife gets home.
Yeah, and then
time to switch. Time to switch.
We stopped talking about marriage.
You've been a mother all day. Now I'm home.
Oh,
You've
Get in
been
the kitchen.
children.
you say that because you ain't experienced that.
Get in
But
the
that's
kitchen.
the whole. Wait, what? So you want her to get in the kitchen while you be a dad after you get off of work?
Wait, there go
No.
those gender roles.
Before I get home.
There go those gender roles.
No, if she's a stay-at-home mother, she's got a goddamn job.
Now,
She got mow the grass when I'm at work too.
Now, question you.
Okay, number 1 said there go those gender roles. That's not a gender role. I'm confused. So what did we think? We thought that we were going to stay at home all day with the child. The husband or the significant other goes out to work, works all day. And then when they come home, the house is not clean, dinner's not cooked, the baby's not bathed. I don't have myself together. The bills that came in that were on the kitchen table, those aren't paid. Errands aren't run, grocery shopping's not done. What did you think that you were gonna do at home all day? So now you really don't get credit, because what did you do? You thought you were just gonna eat and sleep and feed the baby, change the diaper, and that was so much work, and that's all you were gonna do? No, this has nothing to do with gender roles. This has to do with jobs. If you are a stay-at-home mom, you do what it entails, you know, what staying at home entails. Staying at home means dinner's cooked every day, or at least 3, I'll say 4 to 5 days out the week, dinner has to be cooked. The house has to be clean. There's no excuse for a dirty house when you're home all day. Groceries have to be bought while your husband is at work. You had time to go do the groceries. You had time to do the laundry. You had time to take a shower, feed the baby, clothe the baby, change the baby, and even if the baby doesn't go to sleep, because sometimes it's hard to get him on a schedule, you have done everything that it takes up to that point to where all you have to do is wait for the baby to pass out. Maybe give him another bottle or two or whatever, change 1 or 2 more diapers for the night, but that's it. When that man or that woman, whoever it is, when that person comes home from work, they should not have an insane amount of things that they have to do because you as a stay-at-home parent didn't do your job. That I have an issue with. If the person working outside of the house, that's their job. When they come home, that doesn't mean they don't have to interact with their child. That doesn't mean they don't have to interact with you. But what it does mean is if I've worked for 60 or 70 hours this week, there's no way I'm coming home. You've been home all day. I'm coming home, dinner is not cooked, this place isn't clean, diapers aren't put in the trash and the trash taken out. All of that should be done by the time I get home. And now if we are both working, that's when we change the traditional, dynamics of this relationship and we do what works for us. But if one parent is a stay-at-home parent and the other one is a go-to-work parent, that stay-at-home parent has a lot more to do than just sit there and burp a baby all day.
As a young man, I felt like I was taught things that I should not have been taught because a woman was there, putting certain things in me that were not advantageous.
Do you feel like that the reason why you are thinking the way that you're thinking is biased to that situation? So you feel women basically are this thing about women and raising kids is basically based off of that?
I'm talking specific to men. I'm talking specific to men, and a lot of it is black men. I think that we are over-mothered and under-fathered. Again, I think we were over-mothered and under-fathered.
Did you people, girl in the back, number 2, she had the same face I had. I was like, okay, now I understand why you're a bit tone deaf to certain things, and it may be rooted into the relationship that you had with your mother growing up, because it sounds like, okay, but then I like what he said. I'm not putting all of my mess into what I'm saying. I'm kind of looking at, at the collective and not on an individual basis. So he said he feels that kids are over-mothered and under-fathered. I agree. So we're going to keep rolling and see, because this changes. This is a different conversation, and I could do a whole 3-hour video on this one, but let's see what he has to say.
Do you feel like a woman is ever in a position to raise a young man?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, of course she can. Just like a father can raise a very healthy, productive daughter. Absolutely.
I believe that women can raise good men.
Definitely.
No, I think that they can ultimately raise good men, but I think part of the problem is that there's things that are taught to the young men which is not realistic, and it's through the ideas of the woman. How to treat women, how to get respect from women, how to this, how to that. As a young man, you're not taught very basic tenets that allows that man to mature into a man that is respected, that has integrity, that doesn't do that drama bullshit that we talked about earlier.
So do you feel a man has to teach that?
I feel like it comes more natural for a man to teach a young boy the key tenets of being a strong man.
Dead wrong. Look, I don't even know where to start. Dead wrong. So he believes that a man can teach a man. He believes that a little boy is steered wrong when a woman teaches him how to treat women and how to get respect from women. Let me explain something to you. You're wrong. You're dead wrong. And I think that is a lot of what the problem is that's going on now with these younger kids. A man cannot teach another man how to interact with a woman, because 9 times out of 10, they don't interact with women right. You learn how to treat a woman by being in environments with women and watching and learning. You don't learn because someone told you. A lot of times when you have men trying to teach their sons how to treat women, they're misogynistic, they're unfeeling. You find a lot of disconnect, the emotional disconnect. There needs that, and in my opinion, that's why it's best to have a two-parent household, because there needs to be a yin and a yang. There needs to be some type of balance. Without that balance, I don't care if it's the father raising that son or the mother raising that son. Without that balance, something is going to be missing. That's period. So no, and when it comes to that, a man cannot teach a man how to treat a woman better than a woman can treat a man how she deserves to be treated. Just like a woman can't treat a girl how a man, teach a girl how a man should treat her better than her father showing her that example of how a man treats a woman. So you got it backwards. That's no. I think a lot of times the women and the girls in our community are lost because they have their broken mothers trying to teach them how to go out here and how to interact with these men. And then you have a bunch of city girls running around, and no shade to them. I like their music, real ass beat, give a F about it, whatever. Okay, I listen to it, but at the end of the day, I don't adopt that mentality because I'm grown. So when you put that into a younger girl, that a lot of times that comes from a broken mother that has taught that daughter that all a man is worth is a check. All he's good for is what you can get out of him. That doesn't normally come from a father teaching his daughter how to interact with men and how to pick good men. That comes from a mother picking bad men and then putting it in her child, her scorned ways of how to get at a man, but not how to get a man that's worth anything, if you know what I'm saying. So it goes the same way with that man, with that young boy. A man cannot teach his son how to properly interact with women. He's gonna be off. A lot of times, if that's the case, if there's only a male there, it's probably because he doesn't have a good relationship with women. That's why he has to raise his child on his own. Aside from when you deal with your spouse and they have substance abuse or they pass away or something like that. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about a healthy mother, healthy father. But for some reason, one of those parents is not there. So if this man is raising his son, there's no way that he should be trying to teach his son how to interact with women, because if he was doing it right, he wouldn't be doing it alone. But if he had a daughter, what he could put in his daughter is what to look for in a man. And I think that's the piece that's missing. That's the huge component that's missing from a lot of girls. They don't have their fathers to teach them what to look for and what to avoid. They have their hurt mothers teaching them how to not get got like they got. And then, like I said, for the boys, you have a lot of women making their sons their boyfriends. Instead of, teaching their sons how to grow up and be healthy men, they're raising their sons in either a resentment in the eyes of resentment that they have for the father, or they're raising their sons in a way that, makes them dependent on that mother, and they don't know how to go out here into society and be healthy and have healthy relationships with the opposite sex. That's the issue. Or even have healthy relationships with the same sex because they were so busy learning from that scorned mother. So no, you're wrong. You're wrong on this one. You're wrong. I've been with you this whole way, MTR, but this one you're wrong. Are you wrong?
It makes sense, like at an unrealistic level, right? So often what we see is that there's young men that are taught things like, oh, put her on a pedestal, treat her like gold, like treat her like diamonds, and all of these really, and then you get examples of men who like drama.
Okay, I have to cut this comment. I have to cut this one short because what he says after this, it just is so long that I don't want to interrupt it. I want to be able to relay the full his full thought to you all. So I'm just gonna break this up like this. What he said, the whole idea of men that are raised by women, they tend to be the ones that have the drama with them, the cattiness. I can't say he's wrong. I can't say he's wrong, because I do see a lot of that. I'd be like, okay, yeah, you definitely didn't have your mother and your father in your house. That's one of my criteria, and I got blasted for it because I said I don't want a man that pays child support, and I don't want a man who wasn't raised by a mother and a father. I'm not interested in those, especially them younger ones, because It's something goes wrong when there's not two parents in the household. I don't know what it is, but I'm not interested. And I got beat up about that. But I'm like, y'all don't think about it how I'm thinking about it. When you see these kids, you can tell somebody in his 20s and his 30s who didn't have both parents. Like they just act a certain way. Anyway, but the first part where he said, you know, the mother will teach the son to treat her like gold and put her on a pedestal. Let me tell you something. There is absolutely nothing wrong with a man putting a woman on a pedestal. But here's the deal. If I taught my son to go out here in the world and put women on pedestals, I taught my son wrong. I failed him. Because there are a lot of these girls out here, these hoes don't deserve a pedestal. They don't deserve to be treated like gold at all. You better treat them like a bronze penny. Like, at the end of the day, I think what a mother's job is I will always be a better picker of a woman than any of my brothers, sons, nephews, you know, the men in my life. I'll always be able to pick a better woman than them because I am a woman. Just like I can go to my male friends, I can go to my cousins, to my brothers, my uncles. They will always be able to pick a better man. My father, they will be able to pick out a better man for me than I ever would be able to pick for myself because they are men. So the idea that there are women out here and they're teaching their sons, you think that they're a detriment to their son by teaching their sons to put these women on pedestals, treat them like gold? Absolutely not. I taught my son, my brothers, my cousins, look, there are things that you look for and the things that you don't. And I think a lot of times the ones who get got are the guys who go out here and they're looking for the wrong thing. You're so caught up in the aesthetic of a woman that you pick the wrong one and then you try to make her the right one and you get got. And me as a woman, I could tell you, oh no, you see that, oh well, she's such a good woman. What makes her a good woman? I ask certain questions. Why do you consider her a good woman? Then when they list 10 different things, I'm like 9.5 of them things I just X right out. None of that makes her a good woman. As a matter of fact, the fact that you like her, you're justifying her faults and trying to twist them. You know, I mean, you know, she's a good mom, even though she smokes weed in front of the kids. I mean, she's a strong, independent woman, even though she asked me to pay her light bill. Like, you're contradicting yourself. But a lot of men do that because they don't know how to pick women. So the idea that mothers are sending their sons out here, you know, making simps and sending them into the world, those aren't the type of mothers that I know. And I'm not going to say it doesn't happen. It does happen. But I think you have it wrong when you think that women are instilling those type of values. The average woman is instilling those type of values into their son. Honestly, I feel like the average woman is instilling in her son a sense of dependency on her. She's treating her son like the man that she never had. She has her son doing the things that her husband should be doing, but she can't get a husband because she's toxic. I think that's kind of the downside of certain single mothers raising these boys, but not raising them as simps. I think raising them as in a sense, hardening them, especially if a mother has a son who's in his teens, 20s, and he's older and he's out there meeting women and he's bringing home women. That mother will run that girl away because it seems like she's coming to take her son. And that's a real unhealthy dynamic between a mother and a son when that son was raised by that mother. I see that more times than I see healthy women raising simps. And what you just explained, you know, described seems like a simp to me. That doesn't seem like a man who had a healthy relationship with his mother. And like I said, I don't really see that. I see more of the mothers that they're toxic, and you know, any girl that the son brings home, nope, she's not good enough, nope, she's not this, nope, she's not that. And you have to watch your mother, because even though she's your mother, she's not everyone's mother. You know, you love her because she's your mother, but she ain't my mother, so I don't give a damn about her. So I can look at her and I can tell, okay, she has an issue there, she has an issue there. Maybe that's why this man who was her baby is now a grown man and he struggles in this area and that area because of her. But nah, not that these mothers are making simps. I don't know any mother who, I know a whole bunch of moms, and I don't know any mother who's instilling in her son, you have to go out here and treat all women like they're gold. You have to put all women on pedestals. No, you better not, because that means that woman is going to, the average girl is going to take advantage of my child if I send him into the world with that rhetoric. I'm not that mom, so.
Right, like, so like the definition of what a man is really gets skewed from its traditional sense, which is someone who's about his purpose, that focuses on building up his kingdom, that has discipline, integrity, right? Like all of these things, and a lot of it, like especially like, you know, and I hate to say it, like, you know, being a single mother is a very hard job, but it's often the single mothers that do the most harm to young men in raising them.
Is that statistic?
That's
or personal?
That is
real personal.
Well, it wasn't a single woman that raised me.
No, I'm saying like that sounds like a personal opinion and not an actual.
Young men or women that are raised in a single parent household, and it's mostly young men, have a significantly higher chance of falling victim to the penitentiary. I do know that, and we all know that. We all know that, right? We all know that a two-parent household is way better of a scenario to raise men and women.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I do not feel that women raising men creates that. Creates that.
Because I feel like if I instill, there's a certain
Well,
there's a certain level.
Men not being in the household creates that.
No,
that's
I don't
saying
think
though
so.
that puts
Men.
this opinion out there that there has to be a man, which would say that it wouldn't work with two men or two women.
No, I'm like, look, sis said, is that a statistic? No, he's got it. I understand where he's coming from, but I just can't agree with that, because that's to say, and I know this isn't a perfect world, but let's talk in reality, since we're doing a lot of real life kind of, you know, scenarios. Let's keep it that way. In a realistic situation, a mother and a father are going to separate because something didn't go right with them. One of them is going to rise to the top, and one of them is not going to do the same. That's just realistic, okay? So not saying that one is a bummy parent, but one is going to be better at the job than the other. That's just how it is. Very seldom do they split, and it's an amicable split, and everyone just walks away unscathed, and the kids grow up great, parents have an amazing relationship, marry other spouses, and everybody's just one big happy family. Although I have seen that happen, and although it can happen, that is not always the dynamic. So the fact that he feels like there are not fathers in the house, and that's why these kids are growing up like this, because they're growing up in fatherless homes, I don't agree. Because that's saying that a mother just can't do it. It's not possible. And no, you're dead wrong when you say the single mother that does the most harm in raising these unproductible men. The problem is it's the unhealthy parent that's left to raise that child, and somehow this child is supposed to be healthy. That's the problem. So if it just so happens to be it was the unhealthy mother that the father walked out on, or that the father was pushed out of that child's life, and the unhealthy mother raises that child's going to be at a loss. Okay, just like if the mother runs off and leaves the child with the father, or the father says, you know what, you're not fit to raise my kids, and the father steps up and he takes his children, just because it's a father raising that child doesn't mean that child is gonna, you know, that child has to flourish. No, if that father is scorned and he's hurt and he's going through whatever he's going through, that can bleed off on that male or female child. It doesn't matter if it's a boy or a girl, it's a child, and it's an unhealthy parent. Doesn't matter if it's a mother or the father, it's an unhealthy parent. So that, I think, you know, we get caught up in gender, but it's not a gender thing. If an unhealthy parent is expected to produce healthy offspring, I think you got it wrong. And I think the mothers get a bad rap sometimes, because you look at the fact that there are so many more single mothers raising children than there are single fathers. So just by looking at the statistics, you're going to have more data from the single mothers. So it could look like the single mothers are doing all of this horrible things to these boys, but it's not that. It's that it's a single parent. The parent just so happens to be a mother. Because if the other parent was there, maybe that wouldn't happen. But you know what? If the other parent was there, maybe that child would be seeing abuse. They'll be seeing drug abuse, their parents fighting, you know, people going to jail, people arguing, stress. That you don't know what the dynamic would have been by having that father in that house. So just by having a male presence there doesn't make it, oh, now he'll be raised and he'll be wholesome. No, that doesn't do it. Sometimes that child is better off with that other parent out of the picture, male or female. So no.
To really, and I think you guys discount this, but you discount it not really knowing how a man should be raised. So I think I hear you, but I think like don't discount everything that's put against the black man. That a black woman has the necessary components to make sure that understand how a man should be raised, how a man, right? Like there's unique cases, and we can all probably call on unique cases of black men that were raised by black women that are fantastic. But then we also know cases of men that purport to be men, and you go back into the history and they like to talk about drama, and then you're like, oh, okay, well, a lot of that comes from all the aunties and shit that had raised him. He was around drama at that time.
But you also know of black men who were raised by fathers that become criminals, that become domestically violent towards women. Like you have men who are in the home with their wives who give these men complexes. These masculine, you have to be this way, you have to be that way. They don't know how to treat women. They don't know how to talk to women. And that's coming from straight men.
Once again, we're looking at this dynamic like, oh, the aunties and the sisters, they all sitting around gossiping and talking about men. So that's why these boys are growing up and they like the drama, because they're used to seeing the women sitting around gossiping. Let me tell you something. I know a lot of women and I know a lot of men. And in my experience, men cackle and hackle way more than the women do. So that's not true. And like, you know, like the first girl, she was saying, that's like saying just, you know, what I said a second ago. Just because that father's there doesn't mean that he really should be there, because sometimes a child would be better if the parents would have just split up anyway. Not saying that one would be absent, but sometimes one needs to be absent, and I'll tell you why. The reason that is because we mate with people that we shouldn't mate with. Simple as that. Just because you can lay down and have sex with somebody does not mean that is the person that you should be having kids with. Some of us should not be procreating. Simple as that. And I've had a rule probably since my 20s. If when I look at a man, I don't look at them like, oh, you look good, oh, you sexy. No, I'm like, would I want to procreate with him? If I don't want to procreate with you, I'm not going to do it. We're not having sex, period. Because I don't want to sleep with someone that I couldn't see raising a child with. I don't want to sleep with someone that I couldn't see myself being with. But a lot of us are out here sleeping with people that we can't see a future with, and then we make a child, and that just because we have this child doesn't mean now all of a sudden we're going to be able to see a future. That's the problem. Everyone is motivated by their genitals, and then they try to do this makeshift family at the end, and it doesn't work that way. So it's not a male or female thing, because you have a lot of men you know, who I know in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, who have all these toxic thoughts that were put into them by the men in their lives. Oh, my uncle said, you better not buy her shoes. She'll use them shoes to walk out on you. Oh, but did your uncle tell you that he was cheating on your Aunt Mamie every day? Every year there was a new child and a new woman. Did he tell you that? And that's why she used them shoes? She just so happened to put on the penny loafers that he bought her when she walked out on his ass. But he didn't tell you what he did to make her walk out. Did he tell you that he was black in her eye every time he turned around? Did he tell you that he was gambling the rent money away and that's why she put on them shoes and walked away? But in his mind, oh, don't buy a woman shoes because she'll walk out with you in them shoes. No, she's not going to walk out on you in those shoes unless you're doing something to get walked out on for. You know what I mean? There's got to be a reason. So a lot of people, they have these ways like I had someone say something. He's probably in his 50s and he made a comment. You know, a couple of us were all talking. And he was like, you know, my daddy told me if a woman's tongue is moving, if her tongue is moving, she's lying. Like, and he was joking with somebody, you know, we were all talking, but he was joking. But in my mind, I was like, oh, your daddy wasn't shit. Because why would he think that every time a woman is speaking to him, she's lying? That's because he's had women in his life lie to him. So when you tell that, if you're raising a 5 and 6 and 8 and 12 and 14 and 22-year-old, and they've heard that their whole life, these men with these toxic views, they're spewing that into their sons, they're going to go out here with these girls. They're not going to know how to navigate a woman, you know, relationships. They're not going to know how to pick out a quality woman over what is desirable to the eye. They're not going to know these things because they seen their uncles and their fathers go from woman to woman and, oh yeah, she bad, she's this, she's that. And it's all about an aesthetic, but it's not about do they have any depth to them. These men didn't know how to pick women, and then they raised their sons and their nephews and grandsons not to know how to pick them either. That's just what it is. But I'm not going to say that's every single man or that's majority of the men, just like you can't say that's majority of the women that are single mothers that are ruining these kids. No, it's just a higher percentage of women who are single mothers as opposed to men who are single men. I'm talking about parents, single parents. So that's why, like I said, you would have more data from the single mothers because a lot of them do it on their own as opposed to the men who a lot of times they don't have custody of their kids.
Has been hurt by a woman, then he can raise his man to be biased towards women. You know what I'm saying? If he's been hurt by a woman, and at that point, that's unfair. So I
think the example is huge because I cannot, like, let's say I was a single parent and I had a daughter. I cannot, like, I don't know how to be feminine. I have no idea.
Yeah, so
I have no idea. I see examples that I look at women that I may be attracted to, but like I don't know what are the components in order to make that what that is into that person.
Yeah, but
so like I would have to rely on female supervision to help me communicate, to help me. And then in fact, if I was raising like as a single father, raising a young, I'd have to rely on them on different ways. I would have to communicate with this young person who's of a different gender than me.
Just because you a single father doesn't mean your daughter is not gonna grow up to be feminine.
Yeah,
like she's still gonna, like, if she's a feminine girl, she's still gonna be feminine. Yeah. Like people are themselves.
I would argue that a single, it's nature versus nurture. I'd still argue that a man, a really masculine that likes sports, that like to do this, that like to do that, and he's raising a young girl, that young girl will probably have way more tomboy tendencies.
Completely disagree. Like number one said, it doesn't matter if you have female ways or feminine ways about you. You don't have to teach that. That is in her, because if that were the case, look at all of these girls who whose mothers are out. I guess I would say mothers are out here hoeing and doing whatever they're doing. Then you meet the daughter, and she doesn't want to take you home to her parents or to her mom because she's embarrassed. You look at her, she's going to an Ivy League school. She's out here doing her thing. She's not promiscuous. She's on her grind, but she's a very feminine woman. She wants to interact with men. She seems to be level-headed, healthy. And then you meet her parent and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, like that came from that? Because even though your parents are influential to who you become, your parents are not your everything. And yes, you get a lot from your environment, but your environment is not 100% parents. Your environment is the people at school, the teachers, your neighbors, the people, the crossing guard who you speak to every day. Like it's more than just your parent. And sometimes you have kids who grow up to be the exact thing that they hated in their parent, but then you also have kids who grow up and they do the exact opposite because they never wanted to be anything like that toxic parent. So that you can't say that. And I think if more men raised these girls would not be out here thotting and bopping like they are. I think if more men raised these girls, they would do a better job of picking these men, and they wouldn't find themselves as single mothers. If these men raised these girls, they would not make them gay. They wouldn't make them masculine. My father never painted my nails, and all he did was watch football. But that didn't make me want to be a man or want to throw a football, because that's what we would sit there. And I was the girl. I loved my dad so much that I didn't even care that I hated football. He would sit there Sunday after church and watch football, and I would sit right there for hours, just bored out of my brain. But I was with my dad, so I didn't care. Like that didn't make me boyish. And I would have my Barbie dolls, or I would have my dolls, and I'd be playing, or I'd be drawing, and I'd be doing something, but I was with my dad. his love for sports did not leach into me and all of a sudden make me not have my femininity. I was still a girl. I still loved makeup. I still loved painting my nails. I still loved playing Barbies, all of that stuff. My dad, that didn't impact me at all. But what it did do is teach me what to look for, certain things to look for in a man. That's what I got from my dad. And here's the deal. You can have 5 children, and let's say they're all 5 boys or all 5 girls, whatever the gender, they're all one gender, right? I am one parent. Each one of my kids, I can teach them all the same exact thing at the same exact time. Each one of my kids is going to get something different out of what I give them. Because it's not about what the parent is showing them, it's about what the child receives. So even if it is a man raising a daughter, yes, it's about the role models. I went and, signed up for Big Brothers Big Sisters. I did certain things to make sure that my kids had certain, different dynamics of men and women in their lives, because I wanted my children to be whole, well-rounded. So I did that as a parent. There are plenty of other parents that do stuff like that. So yeah, if you are a father and you're raising a daughter, maybe you don't have aunts or, sisters or your mom, whatever, nobody's around. Maybe you do go find good examples of what you think womanhood is and allow your daughter to see that. But whether she sees it or not, she's going to get it from somewhere. She's going to get it from the school. She's going to get it from her peers. She's going to get it from the television. Somewhere she's going to get it. So either you can kind of mold it how you want it to be, or you can just not mold it and she'll go out there, because if you don't teach her, the world will. And it goes the same way for these boys.
I have seen
because of
way
how
more,
how she's raised.
Way more girls, daddy girls, real sweet, real feminine girls, because their daddy's been the one that, and then you have these girls who's been raised by just their mother, but they have a whole bunch of brothers, and them the ones that are the tomboys. So it's not about you having a mother or a father in the home. It's about that person's personality and what they gravitate to.
So this is the end of part 1, but this might wind up being part 2 because I have like almost 2 hours of footage, and yeah, I'm gonna make sure I get this to y'all. I just want to say, make sure you guys will subscribe to my channel, hit the blue bell for notifications, thumbs me up, comment down below what you think about these subjects, and yeah, I think I'm gonna make a 2-parter because this is interesting and this is really long. I make sure you check the description box. I have a link to MTR's page. It's mediocre tutorials and reviews. I really do like his content. I haven't watched that much, but I'm about to binge watch as soon as I finish all of this cutting and editing. So anyway, make sure you guys have a great one, and we'll do this again next time. Deuces.